We are live, Your Worship.
Afternoon, Council. I would like to call to order our first meeting of the year for January 13th, 2026 with the adoption of the agenda. So you want to make that motion, Councilor Cherry, Councilor Palmer, all in favor? Motion's carried. And adoption of the minutes of the regular council meeting of December 9th. Councilor Palmer, second by Councilor Lusau, all in favor? Motion's carried. Any business arising from those minutes? Seeing none, I'm going to go on to announcements from the mayor. I have several announcements today. I'm told by our staff that we have several committee vacancies available for public. So APC, Heritage, Tourism, Community Fire Smart. All of those are available online through our website. So if anyone would like to apply, we'd love to have you join our group. We also have several online sessions available for the short-term rental. And again, if you want to go online to book those, you're more than welcome to do so. I had a phone call from a resident last month in dealing with closures of the highway. More concerning is the closures at Malaqua, holding the trucks back and the trucks that contain groceries for our community. So I reached out to MOTT and the response back was they're working on how to deal with it, but at this present time, they are not letting any trucks other than the obvious trucks through to Revelstoke, and obvious means logging trucks. So they know that where they're going. So it's still a concern for us. However, this is a new program for OTT and CVSE, so they're going to work through that. And hopefully there'll be some changes. Also, some real positive news. A youth from our community has won a national prize in National Forest Week Art. So creative young Canadians from coast to coast have been recognized as winners in FORED, BC's annual National Forest Week contest, celebrating the incredible resilience of our forests in the face of fires, pests, floods, and human activity. This is open to Canadian youth age 5 to 18. Contest entrants were asked to depict the theme, Roots of Resilience from Seed to Canopy. Hundreds of entries from across Canada challenged the volunteer judging panel, but in the end, 7 youth winners were chosen for reflecting the theme in many compelling ways. And so our own Vita Ravello in grade 3 at Mount Begbie or Begbie View Elementary was a winner. She had a drawing called Nurse Stump in Old Growth Forest. She won a $150 cash prize. And that's her picture here on the left. This young lady to be able to win that. So congratulations, Vita. We're proud of what you're doing. Thank you. All right, we are now going to move on to delegations and presentations. We have Revelstoke Community Housing Society here with a strategic update. Mr. Attia.
I'm going to step out for this one.
Okay. So note that Councillor Stapenhurst is stepping out because of perceived conflict. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us. I'll just plug in here. Sorry.
I can see on that video. Councilor Palmer is just bringing you forward, Taha, so that you can be seen on camera.
In frame. Yeah. Okay. Thanks for having us. Our first delegation of the year, Revelstoke Community Housing Society. I'm joined here by the members of the board, as well as consultants. So I've got Mike, Pam, Brenda, Lee, who you know, and Greg, who you'll meet in a couple slides. Just wanted to give you some timely updates and keep communication open as we enter 2026 and make sure that you know what's coming and what to expect.
Okay, thank you.
So first up, the Downey development. We just wanted to give an overall project update. We're starting to communicate more with the public and give some more advanced notice of what to expect and what's coming next. We've got a BC Housing page that has some pertinent information about the development, as well as our own project page on our website, and the link there to follow for anyone who's looking for more information. But the key points are that we are on track for final project approval in spring 2026, which puts us in construction for the second quarter of 2026. So anywhere from April to June is our target, barring any unforeseen delays, but that's it's going well. And then we've got a contact form for neighbors who want information, prospective tenants, and community members. So we'll continue to update about when a wait list might open closer to construction and building opening date, so that we're not handling a bunch of emails that are in contacts that are out of date. So we'll aim for about 12 to 18 months from building opening to ensure that current residents of Revelstoke have the opportunity to put their name on a wait list and be prioritized for housing. Next up, we've got just an update on some work we've been doing with BC Hydro to support housing, workforce housing for Rev 6. Their plan is to move forward with their project. I think in March of 2027, they would like to, their workforce will start arriving in community. And I believe they've come to council as well to share updates. So most recently, we did put an RFP out to the local building community to request proposals for housing solutions that could be met by the private market builders. Unfortunately, that has concluded. We weren't able to find a solution within the private market that would meet those needs, and we continue to work with BC Hydro to find a solution. But yeah, just the notice that initiative has now ended. But the RFP initiative specifically. And that brings us to the final update, which is the Oscar Lands master plan. This is some work that Lee and Greg have been helping us with since mid last year, and with the bulk of the work beginning in September last year. And I'll give it to them to take over.
Okay, go ahead, gentlemen.
I guess introduction, you everybody knows me. My name is Greg Stewart. I'm a landscape architect, urban designer with Ground Cube, and part of the design team for all this. So excited to be here. So as a start, I wanted to revisit the master plan that was previously done. So, as a design team, we're not here to reinvent the wheel, but rather stand on the shoulders of some really good work that's already happened. So aspirations of the original master plan, 4 key things that I just wanted to mention was, of course, you received 2 different options, but one of them was really to prioritize housing needs. And that's what you're seeing here as part of the previous submission. The second part of it is to create a complete community. So not just housing, but thinking about sustainable transportation, lots of talks about multi-use pathways, walking paths in the site, transportation options, including transit services to the area. These are important things that make a complete neighborhood. We're also talking about frontage of the buildings, how they orient towards the street rather than parking being the first thing. It's about people in houses fronting the streets, having eyes on the street to create safe communities, pushing parking to the back. We also talk about things like active living, the importance of this place and anything that we design being specific to this place. And then that connection to offsites in that area, not just internally focused, but externally, and how we relate to amenities and views and context. So that's all really important. Aspirations in here also included environmental sustainability. So that's the protection and enhancement of the natural features of the site. There's very unique characteristics of that specific parcel of land. So wanting to enhance that as we design it. And then again, just connections to what's already there, being a good neighbor. So in terms of the existing communities adjacent, what we do is sensitive to the existing community's needs and looking to the future so that it minimizes the impact of them. All right. So back in September, we had a workshop and engagement session, which included a site walk. So gathering together interested parties so that we could look at, with the previous master plan in hand, what we're going to do potentially on the site with RCHS and kind of the first phase of their project. It's now going from this conceptual idea to something that's real. So that's a great time to get out and walk the site, really understand where it is, focusing on things like the views, natural rock outcroppings. There's some great character areas within this parcel of land, and trying to hold on to those while meeting the aspirations of the original master plan, and also specific elements of the original master plan, which talks about the number of housing units. So with 345 units as being the number achieved by the original master plan, no less than that was what we were striving to do. But first of all, getting everybody in a room, walking the site, and then being able to come back and share ideas. So again, now that it's real and moving from that conceptual to reality, you start to pay more attention to the specifics. So a few different things came out of that. One, that this is an opportunity for this area to show leadership to other areas that are under transition in Revelstoke. So how we can, solve not just a housing issue, but a complete community issue. And that this development needs to be sensitive, to be a good neighbor. So you'll see the highest density is away from existing communities. So allowing for that transition and really using the natural environment, the existing trees that are healthy and sustainable for many, many years to come as a way of screening that new density in the area. So we wanted to, on site, it was really evident that there was two different benches, like a higher bench and then a lower bench with a steep area in between. And it was, the goal was if we could do all the development on the upper bench, that would preserve the lower bench for natural amenity. So trails, informal gathering spaces, and part of a network of pathways, and then that visual screen, as well as a few different areas within there that really focus on targeted views. That was an exciting opportunity that came from that workshop. The preference for passive recreation. In the master plan, there was a pickleball court adjacent to existing residential, and that type of use was felt in the workshop that there might be some noise issues. So there was a really exciting idea that came out of a children's naturalized playground and in that area, being kind of the heart of the site, and we'll see that in a bit. And then the overall connectivity of this site really was important in those discussions. And then connecting to Powerhouse Road, really specific. So, ideas like public washroom, an off-leash dog area, frisbee golf potentially, watercraft storage, river access, covered gathering space for picnics and educational sessions, community garden areas, outdoor wash station, and community garden storage. So those are elements that are further out in the Powerhouse Road Park area. And then there was, the last one was just that the pickleball courts were a little noisy. So this was the first attempt to put these ideas onto the site. So where you see this parking here, that represents the edge of the upper bench, and then the lower bench is all naturalized. But the important elements are a community gateway. This is a gathering spot. It can be year-round. It can have fire pits, movable tables and chairs, catenary lights, comfortable to go hang out and read a book, or to have, a bit of a community get together, sized appropriately for that. Number one is the first phase of the RCHS site. So that's 28 units. And that looks at it fronting onto Humbert Street and making sure that it's very visible to the street. One of the big items that we talked about during our session was changing the multi-use pathway from being Powerhouse Road to driving right through the middle of this and then connecting to Powerhouse down below. So doing that to bring people in, activating the site, giving the people that live here those sustainable transportation options, but also as part of the larger network, what a great destination this becomes. So we've got a commercial retail core. So you can imagine an ice cream shop or a bistro, being able to bike over here, have a glass of wine on a patio. There's outdoor gathering spaces as well. But just as part of that network, it was really important to organize the space. And then this was the naturalized play area for children, which are really fun and exciting, and allows us to keep majority of the existing mature healthy trees, and it creates a nice separation between the existing residential. And then in terms of density, we're going from our existing affordable housing to here slightly denser, and then as we get further towards this side, it becomes the most dense, and also the furthest away from the existing residential. So a good fit there. And then really the last important thing to talk about was just, again, moving the parking in behind. So what that does is create a very strong and compelling activated and animated street front. So that's day and night year round. But it also, from a fire smart point of view, pushes the trees away from the buildings so we can achieve, what today has been adopted as standard fire smart safety construction. And then also with the bench, keeping everything on the upper bench and not touching the lower bench, it really reduces cost. Strong reduction in the amount of earthworks that is required, and the preservation of as much of the existing natural landscape as we can, and also kind of conserves those view corridors as well. So what is represented here matches identically the housing counts in the first master plan, with the opportunity to even exceed that. So there's areas that have been designated which aren't currently shown as development, but future development opportunities. So similar to what's happening here, could be mirrored on there to get additional units just to bring that count up. But what we're really striving for was that balance between housing potential, a commercial retail core, and the natural core. When we're doing that, being a good neighbor extends beyond just to people living in communities around, but also natural communities. So the bird population, keeping a sustained tree canopy throughout, and then as well as wildlife. So that was where we landed with that kind of balance and outcome from our workshop. And we're excited about how this is moving forward.
Thank you.
So, Greg, just when you did the workshop, was city staff present to weigh in and give their opinions on your master plan?
They were, yes.
Yes.
Councilor?
Just for clarification, Councillor Orlando, Councillor Cherry, and myself were there.
Okay.
City staff, I think, were in another meeting, so they weren't actually at the actual physical workshop.
I believe for a portion of the workshop, they were online, remote.
That's Mr. Sun.
You were attended for a half hour, 45 minutes. It overlapped with the heavy meeting day, so we haven't had significant involvement in any discussions regarding master plan amendments.
Okay, thank you.
We've,
Appreciate that.
yeah, and we've sat down with city staff to get some more feedback on this, and I wouldn't give this like the way I'd position it now is that what we have in front of us and what we've been preparing for is with the pre-servicing of the land, with the additional input to the original master plan. We're positioning ourselves to act on opportunities and to be able to move quickly if funding opportunities allow, to be able to develop the site. So I think that these are all precursors to a formal master plan change if necessary. But I would note that the goal of the master plan update was not to really impact the front portion of the master plan with changes that would slow us down from being able to move on an opportunity. So if you see basically the southern portion or the southwest portion of the site and compare it to the original master plan, really no change has been proposed except for conceptual. So instead of a pickleball court, a more naturalized park. Besides that, the forms are pretty much identical, and alignment is also identical. So we don't want to put a change of master plan in front of potential development. We still want to work our way from the southwest to the north and be able to act on opportunities.
So, it is a city-owned property. Any master plan changes would be the prerogative of the city to make those changes. That's all important, right?
Fair.
Yeah.
Any potential thoughts on, let's get another apartment built or something like that?
Yeah. In parcel one, we've been working with FCM grant funding to further a concept plan that we began developing a couple of years ago, and yeah.
Yeah, it's a 28 unit parcel that we received feasibility funding from the Federation of Canadian Municipalities to actually determine what a viable project would be on a site. That's influenced a little bit of what we've done here because we need to identify a proper site dimensionally, as well as the characteristics of that site, soil, geotechnical report, ESA, those items. So we do these activities to help inform feasibility, and we have just wrapped that feasibility study up, and we'll be presenting our final recommendations this month to our CHS. Given if we get approval from that, we'd be able to move forward and apply for capital funding almost immediately based on as the new federal government funding programs are being unfolded right now.
So we can expect shovels in the ground July 1st.
I think that'd be a federal government question.
I'm moving down. Any comments from Councilor Paul?
Thank you, Mayor Souls, and thank you to the design team and for that workshop, Mayor Souls. I thought it was a very good process, and as they said, was building on the shoulders of that master plan that council adopted, and definitely kept the spirit and intent of our master plan, and which was clear at the time that it was conceptual at the time, that it was a concept as a starting point.
Right.
And this has maintained that. And from my perspective, they've captured all that great input from the a housing society, others that were there, and have raised the bar on this and made it I think arguably a more viable project and one that actually protects the interests of the community, what Revelstoke's all about. So I definitely appreciate that, you know, seeing this now, the work of that whole discussion, because there was some really good brainstorming that happened during that time. And then further to your comment, Mayor Souls, you know, something for a housing society, or I'm not sure if be staff involved, but maybe we do need to bring this back and formally adopt it. I think that'd be something for the planning department to take a look, whether they're to augment our master plan and say, okay, we've taken it to another level. And so I think it's captured a lot of those things, there was quite a bit in the natural spaces there, which I think is becoming more and more common, the need of that in our community. So I applaud the work that was done. I felt really good about it, and I feel really good about what I'm seeing here. I've got a couple little tweaks I'll mention, maybe if we get an opportunity.
Any other comments from council? Any questions? Councilor Lucero.
Thanks, Marcels. Talking about commercial in this development, what was the plan for how much of these buildings would be designated towards commercial space?
So that was leaning on the previous master plan. So what was approved in that was essentially what's represented here. So ground floor on both of those buildings, fronting out onto a very pedestrian oriented space. So you can imagine widened sidewalk with movable tables and chairs, canopy of trees, ample parking, but both like opportunities for kind of a small Main Street feel. That's the idea. But that information is in the previous master plan in terms of total square footage, which I can't recall.
I'm trying to do the math just by looking at the buildings we do know. I'm going to guess that's about 25,000 square feet. Yeah, ground level.
And then one other question, when it comes to the BC Hydro development, was the plan to put that on Oscar Street, and which of the buildings in this master plan would be put towards the BC Hydro staff accommodations?
Part of the drive of updating this, so it was to determine if some buildings could be sited here. The original footprints that we had mapped out would have been in area 2 as labeled. Yeah.
And would that take up all of the buildings under site or like zone 2? Because I know there were about 100 units.
So these were conceptual buildings that we had proposed to develop for BC Hydro. Since then, we have moved on from those, but we've actually determined that a bit less space could be used to accommodate almost as many units. So our current plan shows that about 140 units could occupy what you see as the southern, southwest, or the western 2 buildings, as well as 2/3 of the third most eastern building.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments? Councilor Orlando?
Yeah, thanks so much. I appreciate the presentation. Thank you so much for doing that. I would just say regarding phasing and potential BC Hydro developments. BC Hydro at their public presentation here on the Unit 6 and other work they've been doing talked about partnering with RCHS, but it's just really high level at this point. So I think imagine at future stages we would get more details on what's happening there. But yeah, thanks so much.
Good, appreciate that. Anyone else? Councilor Palmer?
So just on the Oscar Street lands, and then we'll have an opportunity to talk about the other input on that, or how do you want to do that? Just focus on the Oscar Street right now?
Yeah, right now.
Okay, so it ties just a little bit to the BC Hydro. Certainly have some questions on that. But just based on the last couple of comments, one from what I'm seeing with BC Hydro, we can talk about that momentarily, that it is an official, at least my understanding, that there's an official partnership and there's proposal calls that have gone out for with BC Hydros. So clarification of that. And we'll get an update on that. I'm assuming we'll get an update on the status of that. But as it relates to this, and my perspective is that we've done a lot of great work, that we should not be thinking about doing something that's going to destroy good planning processes as we move ahead. So if the discussion regarding BC Hydro is on this site, it needs to conform to the planning that we've done on this site. Because it's a 10-year project and we would be going, it would be just a waste of money if we did otherwise.
Yeah, and that's why I brought up about master plan changes would have to come through this council.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
Good,
Thanks.
Good. Appreciate that. Any other comments from council? Seeing none, thank you, gentlemen. Oh,
For on the other two, I do have a couple of questions.
go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Just going back to the current status. So the update on the Downey site, thank you very much for that update. Thank you for responding to the concerns that we had last time and making the building at least a little bit more aesthetically pleasing. And thank you to the planning staff for making that happen. I think it's now carrying on to the next steps. And because that was a concern about the aesthetics. And I see that the view that you have in your report here has an updated rendition of those aesthetics. So I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Mayor Souls, maybe so I don't dominate the conversation, I did have some questions regarding, questions regarding BC Hydro, but I think Councillor Cherry also had some questions.
Okay, so we're going to be talking about BC Hydro a little more in depth later, but is there something for these gentlemen that you have questions about?
No, I don't think it's an appropriate time. I'll sit on my questions till afterwards.
Okay.
But since we're doing the Downey Street project, timelines for project completion, move-in, just an update.
First building, I believe, is mid-late 2027. And then
We have a September 2028 occupancy in our schedule.
Inside or outside dates?
Good question. We're revising our schedule right now, so I'm just going to give you what we currently have. But I expect the first building for sure by that time.
Appreciate that.
honestly,
Follow up, Councillor Cherry?
No, that's it.
Okay, Councillor Palmer.
Mayor Soul, so it's on this is on the agenda. Are we talking the BC Hydro on this agenda? I'm not seeing it
It's in camera.
in camera. Okay, so I have some questions for the open meeting.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Again, thank you for the update, having so they're on the BC Hydro and where that's at. It's a light on what the update. There's questions that are certainly swirling in the community. And also we've had, and one of the things that's happening here, Mayor Souls, is this blurriness between public transparency and the open meeting versus the closed meeting. We've had some of those dialogues in the closed meeting, what belongs closed and open, and we've had both. My questions, I'm pretty sure, are clear open meeting things.
Okay.
If for some reason I'm veering what's into the closed meeting confidential, let me know. So I guess the first is, okay, what is the status of the BC housing? There is there is a public RFP, and I believe that was in the open meeting, you mentioned it, but anyway, the documentation out there that the Housing Society in partnership, I think partnership would be the right word, went out for an RFP. That went out according to the schedule online on October 24th. and was there's a number of timelines going through there with an award of the proponents for January 23rd. So that's happening pretty soon. And I'm just sort of wondering what that status is.
Yeah. I anticipated talking about it in the closed meeting, but thank you for the question, and I can address it publicly as well. So at a high level, the agreement between RCHS and BC Hydro and the city was to just assess opportunities, look for opportunities for mitigating the impact of a large worker influx. And as part of that, try to meet the need for up to 180 units. There have been a couple of initiatives undertaken as part of that. Part of that was to update this master plan and determine whether the site could accommodate that without straying from the original master plan. Subsequently, as timelines got tighter, the RFP to private was the initiative undertaken on behalf of BC Hydro for RCHS to bring forward as an option to BC Hydro and for the community to try to meet those needs of workforce housing and again mitigate impacts to the private rental market. The outcome of the RFP was that no viable options that met BC Hydro's requirements were obtained through the RFP. That was the conclusion of the RFP that was before the holiday break, so at the end of December. And as such, the proponents have been notified and just as of yesterday debriefed those that have requested so as to what aspects of their submissions did not meet the criteria. And so moving from there, the next, the follow-up to that question is the in-camera, I think, subject for today to determine the next steps of how to move forward.
So, Mayor Soul, so just on that, so understanding then, so we went for, the Housing Society went for the call of proposals. You received several or?
There's a strong response. I think 12 submissions were deemed, to meet the minimum criteria for consideration. So a strong response, and really like we were positive about that response and did our due diligence with BC Hydro as a subject matter expert on the RFP to assess them and determine and come to the conclusion that we did that they wouldn't be viable and that would be the conclusion rather than prolong an RFP process at that point that wasn't going to have that wasn't going to have an outcome, a positive outcome for those proponents. We made the decision to ensure that those proposals or those proponents were not investing additional time and money to develop proposals that wouldn't be successful in BC Hydro's eyes.
Okay, so Mayor Soul, so then so we had 12 each that met a minimum requirement. And
that's just the basic.
Yeah, basic, yeah, understood. And out of those 12, none of them were able to meet the requirements of the RFP.
No, unfortunately not. I can give you an overview of the RFP criteria just so you have an understanding.
No, I don't need that.
But like at a very high level,
okay.
Those the types of issues were timeline related. So would they impact BC Hydro's timeline, anticipated start date of March 2027, and unit design related. So BC Hydro has their own criteria for housing their workforce and union agreements that dictate the style of housing that is required to provide. And single units are the are the basic criteria that were spelled out in the RFP and couldn't be met in the submissions. So that's why those two, I'd say, drove much of the criteria not being met, along with I would add just development risk of like development plans or proposals that didn't have the required permitting to give a definite timeline.
So timelines and design criteria as determined by BC Hydro. And
Just, do you mind if I ask a question? You said they all need to be one bedroom units? That was the design criteria?
So at a high level, that we did state to proponents that creative ways to meet those criteria would be considered. And so having a kitchenette and dedicated bathroom were the minimum criteria to achieve that unit. Whether that could be provided within a 2-bedroom design, for instance, a multiple bedroom entryway was something that was being considered. And ultimately, that was the grounds that not meeting that was the cause for.
I mean, realistically, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that our zoning bylaw wouldn't allow for that. I
And
mean, as creative as you can be, we don't have multi-unit zones for 1-bedroom units.
And fair enough. I think we outlined the criteria as clearly as we could from BC Hydro as we knew them, and put them out to the building community as an opportunity that they could pursue and submit put their best foot forward. The result isn't one that anyone wanted out of this, but it is what it is.
Councilor Palmer?
yeah, thank you. So I'll just carry on. And I'm not going to second guess, the decision-making process. It's more on how we move through. That's not.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, and so, but just keeping on the same theme, so there's timelines and there's design criteria, and I have no clue on the design, and I don't want to go there. It's not my, but on the timelines, that concern was raised right early on, and I can't remember how long we've been in this process with BC Hydro. I think it started in January, about a year ago.
It's been like, yeah.
Yeah, and if I recall correctly, they had, in my opinion, unrealistic timeframes. I think it was 2026 when they wanted to have something actually done. And
That was your original
Yeah.
amendment.
so there's this shifting, which is not unusual, other than their timelines was very unrealistic. Looking at I was looking at BC Hydro's timelines here, and they're wanting 100, according to their website, needing 130 accommodation for 130 people by April 2027. Before that, there's some need, but that's when it starts to hit up. So of all these proposals out there, and just trying to understand how we're going, and there's a direct tie to the city of our relationship in this, is the private sector can't meet that timeline, which is still, I think, incredibly optimistic, get that by 2017. And I think there was it was alluded that we'll be talking in camera. Just for clarity, there isn't any detail in camera air source. So I'm not using some hidden information because I just don't have it. Then I'm guessing that we'll hear in camera how we can achieve it. I'm questioning why that would be in camera, if there's going to be achieved some other way, but I'll reserve comment to that point. But I just wonder how government, having over 30 years experience with government and bureaucracy, can achieve something the private sector can't do in timelines. The other question, so then just finally, Mayor Souls, and that's why I'm kind of pushing on this. You know, a fair, transparent process for the public is essential. This isn't my land. It's not council's land. If we're talking Oscar, if there's a partnership, it's not our money. It's the taxpayers, it's the residents in this community. And we have a duty of care at the council table. And so that transparent process is absolutely critical. The lands don't belong to the housing society. And there's a responsibility of good faith in keeping that out in the open as much as possible. So we've had discussions for a year. It feels like we're no further ahead than we were a year, but maybe we'll hear something else after this meeting. Thank you, Mayor Souls.
Great. Thank you, Councilor. Any other comments from councilors? Seeing none, thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate your time. Thanks for coming today and proposing things. Appreciate it. All right, we're going to move on to.
Sorry, Mayor Souls, can we let Councilor take her?
Oh, yes, thank you. Thank you for that. Welcome back, Councilor. So just moving on to item 9A bylaws, road closure and land exchange bylaw 2413. We've done 3 things on that. Is there any overview you would like to give, Ms. Floyd, before I ask for this to be put on the table?
Thank you, Mayor Souls. So we advertised this land exchange bylaw in our new format on the website. We pushed it out on the city's newsletter as well under public notices, and no comments were received.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. Someone want to put this motion on the table, Councilor Chip?
I move the road exchange bylaw number 2413 be adopted.
Seconded for the motion, Councilor Lucille. Any further discussion on the motion? Saying none, all those in favor? Motion's carried. Thank you. Moving on to item B, the traffic and highways bylaw 2431. Is there an overview, Mr. Gips, on that you would like before I put this on the table?
Your worship. The only real changes on this one were adding an and in place of or the request of council, as well as adding skateboarding into the language regarding use of sidewalks. Excuse me. And then further to the request from council, the reason we didn't change the e-assisted cycle was we did want our regulations relating to bicycles to apply to an e-bike as well. So keeping it in that definition is crucial for us, instead of having to then revise the entire bylaw to add e-cycle or e-assisted bicycle into every single section. So other than that, no changes, Your Worship.
Okay, good. And then just for public knowledge, as far as skateboards can go on the street, is that correct?
Excuse me, yes, Your Worship.
All right, thank you. Someone want to put the motion on the table for me, Councilor Lucille?
I move the traffic and highways bylaw number 2431 be read a second time as amended.
Seconded for the motion, Councilor Palmer. Any further discussion on this motion? Both Councilor Lucille and Councilor Palmer, go ahead, please.
Thanks, Mr. Souls. Just a question. I know it came up when we talked about this back in December in regards to golf carts and that not being included in this bylaw. My concern is with Cabot opening, there are spaces where the golf carts are going to be crossing the roadways, and that won't necessarily stop people from using the roadway to get back to their car in the parking lot. Just wondering how bylaw would be enforcing anything like that that might come up.
Your Worship, the use of a prohibited vehicle on roads would fall under the authorities of the RCMP. It's not necessarily something that bylaw would be out there chasing them with the lights on, trying to get them to pull over. That would be use of the vehicle, but it's not prohibited on the roads by the RCMP.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor.
Thank you, Mayor Souls. Thank you for the bylaw and the details, lots of words, definitions and stuff. Mayor Souls, could just like in 2 or 3 sentences, I'll count them. Can you give us, and I know you've done this already, but can you explain why we're doing this right now?
Absolutely. Through your worship, Councillor Palmer, the main reason this bylaw is getting amended is our current traffic and highways bylaw is very much out of date. It references legislation that's been long repealed and replaced, as well as it's just the language within the bylaw itself is very out of date. So really just bringing it up to current standards, introducing language regarding the use of e-bikes or e-prams, and just bringing it up to current modern day standards.
Is that 2 or 3 sentences?
Yeah, that sounds like exactly 3. I think there's semicolon in there, but so thank you through the chair. Thank you for that. I think generally I'll be fine wherever this goes. I just wonder if we need some more additional pause. I know I had some comments last time thinking about sort of some creative problems that we may be facing, and I think you're trying to address those, so thank you for that. I'm not trying to go into staff work, but I was looking at the definitions and looking at it. I'll just use one in particular because I said, okay, I'm diving too deep here. But panhandling is referred several times in the document where you can't panhandle. So for example, you can't panhandle in front of banks or on crosswalks or in traffic lights. In I guess my question is, based on where you're not allowed to panhandle, are we allowed to, is someone allowed to panhandle? And you don't necessarily need to answer that. And then on the definitions, panhandling, even though it's bold-faced in here, bold-faced, it's not in the definitions, I don't think. Is it? It is? Oh, okay. I misread that. Okay. Maybe you can answer that question if we're allowed to panhandle.
Through your worship, Councillor Palmer.
What is there?
It's a bit of a gray area, honestly. Like panhandling is something that is, yes, there may be areas that would fit within the gray area to be able to panhandle. The intention is it is unsafe to be doing on city roads, doing it at intersections, things along that nature. It is quite dangerous. That does create a traffic concern. So the intention is to try to move it away from there.
Yeah, so that's kind of where I'm getting at. Sorry, I'm not sure why I missed that. I see the definition, so it's very, very clear. It means to beg without consideration, ask for money, donations, or goods. So my concern is on the panhandling. It seems to me it should just be prohibited, quite frankly. But I could panhandle outside council chambers here, I believe, and ask the public to give me some additional money for my services to the community.
I would expect there's some tricks that go along with that. You gotta
Yeah,
have the dog and pony show.
yeah. So obviously tongue in cheek here, but I just wonder if that needs to be tweaked. And I'll be in favor of the second reading. I'm just wondering if maybe my question is, before we go to the third reading and adoption, is staff comfortable at this point, or is there any more tweaks you want to do, or is this an endless exercise, I guess?
Through your worship, we are comfortable with it in its current standing. I understand that at this point, there will be further amendments coming forward in the future. If council want us to dig into specific areas as well, we can definitely bring those forward as future amendments. We will be amending this bylaw as identified in the original report. We will be amending this bylaw when we get the parking management strategy after we've had a chance to finalize that, unpack that a little bit more. There will be future amendments coming forward. So if we do find that there is a gap or there is some concern regarding things along the natures of panhandling, then yes, we could bring those forward with amendments. The other thing I would like to just bring forward or bring up is once you get into a bylaw and actually start utilizing a bylaw, that's when you really start to find where those areas are that work and it doesn't work. You can really unpack it a little bit more. You don't know what works until you've actually utilized it. So at this point, that's going to, there will be the need for future amendments. Absolutely. but we do need to get into there and actually start using the bylaw before we start finding some of those potential shortfalls.
So just one other that I saw there, just in that same vein. Thank you for the reply. So I noticed there was prohibitions of sitting or lying down on sidewalks and places at specified times. I think you're allowed to sit on the sidewalk if you're waiting for a bus. I think you're allowed to lie down on the sidewalk if you're waiting for a bus. But other places, it's not necessarily prohibited. So that's sort of in the same vein of panhandling, of what people can or cannot do. But I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Any other comments? I'll call the question on second reading. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried, please. Item number 2. Someone want to put down on Councilor Lucien?
I move the traffic and highway bylaws number 2431 be read a third time.
Second for the motion, please. Councilor Orlando. Any further discussion on this motion, Councilor Palmer?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm just going to ask that question. It's been answered already. Staff are comfortable at this point where it's at, and we move ahead. And then, so because of my abundant faith in staff, I'll go along with this with a little bit of reticence. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other comments from council? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you. Moving on to item C, municipal ticket information system. Mr. Gips, just a brief overview, and then we're going for being read a third time.
Absolutely, Your Worship. Again, these are just the continuation of amendments that are necessary for the new traffic highways bylaw. That would be type offenses that are both under the municipal ticket information bylaw as well as the bylaw offense notice bylaw. Really, it's just to incorporate those new offenses that would be created under that new bylaw with the correct references. And then additionally, there was a few minor amendments under some of the existing, adding just due to either grammatical changes or grammatical errors, as well as splitting out the offense of urinating in public and defecating in public, as those do carry different weights.
Literally. Someone put this motion on the table for me, please. Councilor Palmer.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, second for that motion, please. Councilor Cherry. Any further discussion on municipal ticket information system amendment bylaw 2434? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Item number 2, bylaw offense notice. Someone put that on the table for me, please. Councilor Orlando.
That bylaw offense notice amendment bylaw number 2435 be read a third time.
Second for the motion, please. Councilor Palmer. Any discussion on this motion? Councilor Palmer.
Just one question in favor. In the bylaws, we have these penalty amounts, and they're entrenched in the bylaws. And I just sometimes wonder if that's the best place for the value, because it tends to, time goes by and then suddenly a decade's gone and then that number is ridiculously low. So in this case, it's not exceeding $500. I just wonder if there's any comment from staff, maybe there is, of other options on that. I'm not going to be seeking it right now. It's sort of more of a general question because this comes up from time to time.
Mr. Gips is prepared to answer.
Yeah, I can unpack them a little bit. Specifically under the bylaw offense notice bylaw, it is restricted by legislation. We are not allowed to exceed a $500 fine on a bylaw offense notice. Similarly, under the municipal ticket information bylaw, you are prohibited by legislation from exceeding $3,000 now. They just upped that with the Bill 35. They did increase that amount from $1,000 up to $3,000 now. So we are including that language in there. That is industry standard. It's recommendations from lawyers because again, that is entrenched in legislation.
Thank you. Through the chair. Yeah, so I guess that case in point of going from 1,000 to 3,000, if the bylaw had language that said a maximum amount as per that legislation, it's just a thought. I'll leave it at that point right now. Thank you.
Any other comments? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Moving on to unfinished business 10A. Ms. Floyd, you have a brief overview on this.
Thank you, Your Worship. I do not really. This was an item that was on the agenda on December 9th, and it was deferred to today as council wanted to have copies of the AGM minutes as well as the most current meeting minutes.
Okay, so I want to put the motion on the table for me, please. Councilor Cherry.
I move that the board hereby appoints the following individuals as directors of the company for a term to expire at the next annual general meeting of the company or until their successors are elected or appointed, subject to the provisions of the articles of the company. Gary Sauls, Lonnie Parker, Bill Beard, Tim Staples, Matt Cherry, Mike Copperwright,
Copperthwaite.
thank you, and Evan Parliament.
Seconder for the motion, please. I'll second the motion. Any discussion on the motion? Mr. Palmer?
Thank you, Mayor Souls. I'm concerned on the governance model that we're doing here and some of the appears to me omissions that have been happening maybe for a very long time. On my understanding of the community forest, and maybe you could correct me, Mayor Souls, that it's supposed to be an arm's length corporation for starters. And my understanding is it's a corporation and there's a shareholder, and that's the city of Revelstoke. Is that accurate?
That's correct.
Yeah. And that it would be governed under the, I think the Corporations Act, the community forest itself.
Yes.
As opposed to we're governed under the community charter.
Yep.
And I'm not an expert in the Corporations Act, but as shareholder in the annual general meeting, and I'm speaking as a layperson, that there should be an annual general meeting of the shareholders. And I think this is maybe an omission that's been happening for a long time. If there's only one shareholder, which is my understanding, it's represented at this table. And I'm not, we should get if that's accurate, we should be getting some advice on what our role and responsibilities at appointing of the auditor and that kind of thing. So that's one. I think we need to get that on the right path, as we've seen with RCEC, Revelstoke Community Energy Corporation, which is collapsed, and it might be a governance item as well. It might be more than that. I'm just concerned on the path that RCFC might be going. So that's.
I appreciate those comments. I've had a little conversation with Ms. Floyd regarding that. We're going to tighten up those rules. This has been going on since 1993, since its inception. So we'll make sure that we're doing things correctly and may seek some advice regarding that. But we'll get it on board. I think everything's above board, but we understand your concerns.
Okay, so maybe I'll try and formalize that after whatever happens with this.
Okay.
So the second is the arm's length aspect. We have with this appointment, should it go through, there's 3 council members and a staff member that's being proposed. I don't believe that is any longer arm's length as far as the potential direction of council.
If you don't mind, I believe that might be a requirement for the board.
Mayor Souls, it may very well be. And what I'm referring to here is that arm's length may not exist, and that liability is coming back. And again, we saw with RCFC substantial financial impact to the tax base. And I'm not talking about they're running good or bad or anything else here. It's that future consideration. And so that might be something. And then I'll just go to if we're going to get that governance back on a good path. With all due respect to our Chief Administrative Officer, you've heard this from me before, Mayor Souls, I am opposed. It's nothing illegal or on this, but I'm opposed that non-elected bureaucrats be appointed to decision-making boards I've held that in my professional life as well. So it's just a fundamental that I see. And also it's, tilting over. And then the final thing is, when we look at the community forest, well, what does community forest needs? And what we're seeing is representation here that maybe not be reflective of the community and greater community. It's all just strictly on, it feels very much on extraction of timber values and not looking at other things like tourism values, ecological, climate change. So and then if I may just a little bit further, the question that I have is on the selection process. So for committees and commissions, which are different animals, we advertise for those, as we mentioned in your opening remarks. And then we make that decision in camera, which doesn't have to be done, but that's been our practice for a long time. And it appears that we did not go out requesting for interest from the public. And then we're making this decision without reviewing any kind of resumes that we typically do otherwise. And I think that's needs to change as well.
Okay, all right, appreciate your comments.
And then, so just finally based on that, unless there was some adjustments, I will be opposed to this motion.
Any other comments from balance of council? Councilor Lucas.
Thanks, Mr. Schultz. Yeah, I'll have to echo Councillor Palmer's concerns. I think with the inability for the community to be considered for director positions with the corporation, I think that kind of needs to be flushed out to bring different lenses towards the operation of RCFC.
All right, any other comments? Councilor Lano.
Thank you, Your Worship, through the chair. Just a general question. I hadn't discussed the appointments with anyone ahead of time. I wasn't planning to comment, but based on the comments from other council members, is there a alternative solution that would work, such as appointing someone else to the board or making an amendment or something like that right now, other than stating opposition to this? Is there a way to make this work for those who are opposed currently?
So this was brought to the AGM of the company a period of time ago, right, Ms. Floyd?
Yes, in
Yeah.
April.
In April, and so board members had approved it at that point, not understanding that there would be any opposition to that. So at this point, there won't be any changes. We can make changes at the next AGM, and I'll have a discussion with the manager of our CFC and the board. Go ahead.
Yeah, when will the next AGM be?
That should be in April as well. Yes,
So this topic will come back up.
it'll come up now. It'll, because we need to reappoint at that point.
Right.
Or appoint, so that's something that as a board, we will discuss. And it's probably May. Just got a message that it's probably May for that meeting. Councilor Lemon?
Yeah, sorry. And again, I hadn't planned to comment, so didn't have time to prepare for this question. Following that, Mayor Sauls, so the idea is that you could not make an amendment at this point. I mean, obviously, council can accept or reject this. I don't know that council is necessarily fettered in not making an alternate recommendation now, for example, for some council member or some sort of a tweak right now. Is that, and I might have to defer to the corporate officer, is that correct legally that, they, for example, council could appoint some people and not all, or change the positions, change someone in there or something like that at this point?
Councilor Orlando, through the mayor. I am not well versed in the Corporations Act or the Company Act at all. Typically, this is a process that has happened since May 1993. we are happy going forward, as the mayor said, for the election in April. We could definitely, make sure that the AGM is publicly announced, that any members that are interested in running as a director be present, and then that would allow council to have input.
Councilor Palmer?
Mayor Souls, through to Councilor Orlando. A good point, what you're looking for, the solution of this, the concerns there. It seems to me that right where we are today, it's probably the appointments haven't been done appropriately in a timely manner for almost a full year. Do we just carry that over? Right now it's Rob Elliott, Jackie Rind, and Nicole Chalet. Are they actually on? Technically, are they board members or not? And probably not. So it's probably in a no place land. If this was rejected, then we would have to find a solution. And I think that solution would be going out advertising and continuing to be in non-compliance, which we've been in non-compliance since April. So it's just carry on being in non-compliance. And whether that's the best action right now, or does this get us through until April? But we better get working on it pretty quick to get this on the right track. And so maybe I think there'd be an argument do this little patch. And the difference between other years, though, is the length of time of not getting those appointments done. That's the big
Well, there was management change, and that was the reason that the other people were still on board.
Yeah.
And that's why we're at where we're at. So I'm just going to encourage you to support this at this point. I will talk to the board the next meeting, and we'll indicate how we should move forward. And we'll communicate from the city's perspective to the board and see what they feel as we move forward, so we can get on the right track. Any other comments? Seeing none, I'll call a question on the motion that's on the table. All those in favor? Opposed? Note that Councilor Palmer, Councilor Luciano are opposed. Balance of council in favor. This motion passes. Thank you.
I'd like to put a motion on the table for the follow-up.
Go ahead.
So I move that I wasn't prepared for this. Should have thought of it beforehand, but just that governance and process review be carried out forthwith in recommendations coming back to council on the governance of community forest.
Okay, it's pretty unclear to me what you're asking for. So can you define that a little bit?
So Mayor Souls, you said that we're going to fix things.
Yeah.
That's what I'm just trying to formalize.
Okay.
That maybe staff has a nice motion that says, I move that we fix this.
Councillor Cullen, that a governance and process review be carried out in relation to RCFC prior to the 2026 AGM.
Yeah, I'd like to tighten it up even further so that we get this fixed before the AGM. It seems to me the AGM should be a council meeting, and if we're going to be advertising for new board members, we need time.
It's not council.
So Councilor Cherry saying it's not council. Our role is the shareholder, and if the shareholder does the appointments, we need to know, have that list of candidates for the appointments before the AGM, if the AGM is the annual general meeting of the shareholder.
Yeah, so the AGM, I understand, is going to come in May, so we have a meeting. I'll discuss this with the board. I think we have a meeting in March. We'll discuss that and then get on the right track, but you want it beforehand. So I think what you're asking for, we can review that at the next meeting of RCFC. and discuss it with them and then bring it back to council.
Yes, I believe the CAO.
Mr. Parliament?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have gone through two of these. So the business called RCFC is a wholly owned subsidiary of the city of Brunswick. It's a business and it's under the Corporation Act. You as a council are the sole shareholder. The AGM is for the business. The AGM is held every year. The business, RCFC, holds that AGM. Of course, the city can attend. Any member of city staff can attend. Any member of council can attend. But the taxpayers own the business. It's, again, wholly owned by us. And the business is run by professionals. And council's role is to appoint the directors to the board, to the business. And that's what today is all about. It is common to have a staff member appointed to a development corporation or any incorporated business that is wholly owned by a municipality, just because you always have questions of the business that relate to the owner, which is the city, whether it's the CFO, CEO, CAO. Usually you have one staff member appointed to any wholly owned subsidiary of a local government. And then you appoint the rest, being experts in that particular field, whether it's development corporation, you would have economists, you would have banking folks, you would have land developers. In the case of RCFC, obviously you're going to have registered professional foresters, etc. So council's role today is to appoint, which you've done. I will gladly give up my appointee to anyone other than myself, to any other city staffer who can not have a repeat of what we had with RCEC, which I totally agree with. I think one of the problems with RCEC is there was lack of city involvement, and that was just given to volunteers, where the city was not watching RCEC closely enough when you look back at the last 20 years. So the AGM that's coming up is going to be held by the business, and at any time you're the shareholder, you can call the business, the president, the CEO in, and you can call the board in at any time, because at the end of the day, the taxpayers own the business.
So, any further discussion on the motion on the table? Have we clarified things for you, Councilor Palmer?
I'm fine with that.
Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Oops,
Sorry, did we have a second?
Councilor Sinner. I'll call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? So we've got Councilor Devlin, are you in favor?
Sorry, I had to get to the window. Yeah, I'm in favor. Thank you.
So this motion passes. We have 4 in favor. Cherry, Sauls, and Stapenhurst are not in favor. This motion passes. We'll make sure that it's taken care of. Thank you. Moving on to number 11, staff reports. Our CAO has a report regarding BC Air Access Program grant application. Mr. Parliament, I'll leave it with you.
Okay, so quickly, Mayor and Council, this is before you just because it's a time-sensitive report, in that the grant deadline is this Friday, January the 16th. There are 2 streams under this program. There's an infrastructure stream up to $2 million. But before you can access the infrastructure stream, you need a master plan, and you need to identify assets that need to be replaced, the cost, scheduling, etc. You have to provide Class B and Class C cost estimates. But without the master plan, and certainly applies to YRV, we don't know exactly what needs to be fixed, other than a somewhat dated report that we had done back in 2022, which talked about some assets, but not all the assets of the airport. So with this grant application is a requirement for council to endorse the application. That's what I'm asking for. We are applying on behalf of the CSRD. It is a grant up to 70%, capped at $35,000. So if the master plan costs $50,000, this program would pay $35,000. I'm hoping to get a Class B estimate quote to append to this application, which I believe will be no more than $35,000. So we're hoping to access as much money as we can. Why are we doing this? Is because the fallback would be either EOF funds. So if we're successful in getting this, it's more funds available for EOF projects. And also we had submitted a REDUP grant to hopefully pay for this particular master plan. But we've been informed by the province we can't apply for REDUP until we complete a previous REDUP project, which is currently West Side Roads and Section 17 lands. If you recall, council, you hired the consultants MXD to do a feasibility study for West Side Roads. That is funded by REDUP. That's to the tune of 100,000. So any future REDUP grants to go toward the airport and to fund and master plan cannot be done until we complete West Side Road. So with that, I've got 3 letters of support, one from the MLA, one from the Revelstoke Flying Club, and also seeking endorsement from the CSRD to at least support this application. With that, I'll take any questions.
Councilor
Put the motion on the table.
Okay.
That an application for BC Air Access Program, BCA PP, for funding up to 35,000 to complete an airport master plan be supported.
Quick amendment, there's just a quick typo. BCAP, there should be 2 A's, not 2 P's.
Correct, thank you.
And I'd also like to second it.
Yeah, I'll go with it.
Councilor Cherry seconding. All right, any further discussion on this motion? Councilor Fong.
Yeah, just a couple questions and comments. So the 15,000 will be coming from the CSR, that airport funds.
Yeah, currently through the chair, there are 2 reserves. There's an operating reserve and a capital reserve. Whatever shortfall it is, although it'll be nominal, will go under the operating reserve.
Okay, so then there's no direct impact on our budget other than
Correct.
staff time. So there's, this is being kicked around a little bit. I think it's timely, and as the CAO says, there's a timeline on this. It's interesting, I sort of wonder how many times it looks like there's opportunities that maybe we haven't seen in the past for funding. So I think this is an important step regardless. So, and if it's basically push it along, I think that's a good exercise regardless of where we go with the airport ownership aspect. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
All right, any other comments, Councilor Cherry?
Just want to thank staff for getting this in before the deadline and bringing it to our attention. I do appreciate moving quickly as these opportunities do come up annually, but you have to be ready for them. Thank you.
All right, any other comments, Councilor Rowland?
Yeah, thank you. I will support this, and I just want to echo the need to thank staff. This application is one of 3 that was identified through the working group at the Economic Development Commission, including the REDIP, which we've heard has a delay, as well as the Federal Airport Capital Assistance Program. So just want to reach out to staff and the committee for their work identifying these and getting these set up. And I'm supportive of this, and hopefully we can also, and I'm confident, I feel we will achieve support at the CSRD as well.
All right, I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to item B, 11B, Multipurpose Facility Advisory Committee Terms of Reference Update. Mr. Nato, do you have a brief overview?
Your Worship, the terms of reference for the Multipurpose Facility Advisory Committee came to an end on end of December 2025. So we're just requesting an extension to the terms until December 2026 or until approval of a design concept. We've also received a request from Jill Drake, who's the head coach of the Gymnastics Club in Revelstoke. She's requested to have a seat on the committee as well, as they're interested in advocating for a gymnastics space within the multipurpose facility. So her request is included in the council package and is there for council's consideration if they would like to see another appointment on the committee.
All right, any comments? Someone want to put the motion on the table?
Sir, just a question before that. If we are considering adding the gymnastics club, should that be addressed before this is put on the table to make an amendment to that? Or should we do that once this is on the table?
Mayor Souls, I suggest putting it in the motion. If that's what Councillor Lucio wants to do.
I think we should put it in the motion as. Go ahead.
I move that the term for the multi-purpose facility advisory committee be extended to December 2026 or upon council approval of the design concept, whichever occurs first. And that the terms of reference for existing members, including a representative for the gymnastics club, be extended to align with the terms of reference.
Seconder for the motion, Councillor Stapenhurst. Any further discussion on this motion? Councillor Levin.
Yeah, just a quick clarification question. I'm 99% sure this is the case. This explicitly means the same people on the committee, just keeping them on there. Correct. That's all. Okay, thanks.
Anyone else? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried unanimously. Thank you. And then moving on to item C, Moberly Manor Park Garden Project. Just a brief overview on that, Mr. Nettle, please.
Sure, thank you, Your Worship. So you may recall seeing this project come forward late in 2023 through the Public Art Committee minutes. The project was approved for an alternate location, subject to consultation with the neighboring property owners. During that consultation, there was some concerns from the neighboring property owners, so the Hospice Society explored other potential sites and came across Moberly Manor Park. So over the last year and a bit, they've been working on refining their concept for that new location. So their proposal includes redevelopment of the existing park space to include a garden, which features drought-tolerant plants, along with a pathway, some seating areas, and the wind foam project itself. They will be partnering with the local seniors from the assisted living facility next door to create the garden space, and then for the ongoing maintenance of that space. The project will be fully funded by the Hospice Society and gifted to the city of Revelstoke. So once we retain ownership, once they complete the project, the city will be responsible for maintaining that space. The impact will be minimal maintenance costs, but we'll continue to work with the Hospice Society and the local seniors assisted living facility to ensure that they're involved in the process.
Thank you for that. Councillor Lucio.
I move that the Revelstoke Hospice Society proposal to place the wind foam public art installation in Moberly Manor Park and develop a memorial garden at the site be approved.
Seconder, Councillor Cherry. Any further discussion on the motion? Councillor Plummer?
I just have a question. I'm sure there's somebody else that has, what does the wind phone work? Is it like going in a phone booth or?
To Council for your worship, yes, it'll replicate a telephone booth and there'll be a phone. And it's just meant to be a private space for individuals that are grieving to reflect and sit in the phone booth and.
So will it be a?
No,
I'm trying to-
incorporated form.
No?
If I can jump in here. It's for therapeutic grieving enclosure.
Well, yeah, I understand that, but I'm just trying to, I'm trying to understand how if I go in the forest and talk to a tree, that's one thing, but I just wonder, anyway, that's fine. Good, I'll try it out.
We'll give you a special number to call.
Thanks, Mayor.
All right, any other comments? I'm supportive of this. I think being in the funeral service industry for years, that what the Hospice Society has grabbed onto here is definitely it'll be therapeutic. All right, I'm going to call a question. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried unanimously. Thank you.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Just as a point of privilege for the Revelstoke Grizzly Hockeys, Ms. Hutton, who's sitting in the audience, she approached me in the hallway and asked if she could speak to that matter if you so choose. So I just thought I'd speak on her behalf and make that request to you.
Great. Thank you for that. Ms. Donato, do you have comment on this request that we received?
Your worship. I don't have any comment at this stage. If it's something that we are going to consider, I will have comment at that time.
All right. Ms. Hutton, would you like to come forward and give us your opinion? Come on up, if you don't mind. We're gonna give you a podium to lean on and actually get you to bring it just a little bit more so.
So I'm on camera.
Our counselor on camera can see your
Okay.
perfect. All right.
Thank you, Your Worship, council members. This was just brought to, I'm representing minor hockey here today. Minor hockey would be opposed to this suggestion in that the Gross Grizzly Society is requesting to take over full control of the concession.
Who operates a concession currently?
Currently, it's the Revelstoke Grizzly Society that has the contract with the city, and then they sublease it to the people that have conversations.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Mhm.
Okay.
I believe it goes up for tender every 3 years,
5.
5 years.
Yeah, so it's coming up for renewal in 2026, and we've had some conversations with Lori. It's Revelstoke Minor Hockey's intent to be more involved in the discussions with forming that contract for whoever has the concession, because it's quite unaffordable for most community members, like hockey players, to eat at the concession. When we have hockey teams coming to town, it's priced well above other concessions in other areas. It's rarely open for minor hockey, which we've tried to change this year, and it actually has been working better we deal directly with the conversations people. So they have made their schedule more available, but it hasn't been in the past. It's rarely been open for minor hockey events, and that was something that was really stipulated in the original contract with the Grizzlies, was that it had to service minor hockey, and it hasn't been, and so we want to make some changes. We want to be involved in the contract moving forward, and with 2026 being a new term, to really make sure that the community's requirements are met, not just minor hockey, but also figure skating, any of the users other than the Grizzlies.
Okay.
Yeah.
So any comments from council before I go back to Mr. Mayor?
I'll make a couple comments, just sort of general, not on specifically
Sure.
to this. I see, referring this to staff for consideration. I'll make my comments now then on that. When I read the letter, I guess some of the things that are surprising that it wouldn't be a profit center, I'm wondering if it should actually go out for proposal calls and let the private sector look at, including service levels and that kind of thing. And then tying it to the other contract, I think that's a complication that especially in view of what we're doing with the possible replacement. So those are just sort of general comments, but I think at this stage, that's going to be referred to Ms. Donato for review. Yeah, thank you.
Any other comments, Ms. Hunt?
No, just thank you, Your Worship. One comment that we were thinking on the board as well is there are a lot of businesses that are using like the community kitchen right now and places like that to try and get their, serve the community. And
Sure.
so there may be, back when the Grizzlies took it over, maybe there wasn't any available businesses to do it at that point, but I feel like the community has changed and there would be other businesses that may be looking for space that it would probably work quite well. Minor hockey would just be very upset if this went strictly to the Grizzlies.
Okay, well, thanks for your input.
If I can just ask a question, sorry, through the chair.
Yep.
From minor hockey's perspective, is the issue just with the cost, with the lack of it not being open? Could I?
I would think the issues are the availability of it. So again, it has changed slightly this year. It is more open, but we've had to specifically request, these dates are the ones we want open. And even still, it's not 100% met.
Do you know if that's because of availability or if that's because of just cost to run it for smaller tenured events?
Yeah, I can't speak to that for sure. I think some of it is staff availability for the subcontractor, if they have staff available. I know I have seen the lease between the city and Revelstoke Grizzly Society. It's a fairly minimal fee that the Grizzly Society pays per month to run that, to lease that building. I would assume that, there is some profit that the Grizzly Society is making with their sublease. I haven't seen that lease though, so I can't speak to that, but I think there's a potential for it to be a profitable business for someone. But also the fees. I mean, in the original lease, it has specific fee requirements, like what you should be charging for coffee, tea, poutine, and those are definitely not being met now. Like prices, if you want to go for chicken fingers, I think it's over $20. And when you go to any other rink in the area, it's much more reasonable. And because you're, and that's one thing we could work on is, if we were going to pursue a different operator is, maybe there's a minor hockey menu, maybe there's a menu for Grizzlies games, right? Because they're two different clientele.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. I appreciate that. Word. That's probably a promotion of thing.
Yeah, be referred to staff, including consideration of a public proposal call for concession services.
Someone want to second that? Councilor Luciano, second that. Any further discussion on that? Councilor Lemon?
Yeah, I'd support a report from staff. Don't really have enough details as this is just a correspondence item regarding who's responsible for upkeeping equipment, that kind of stuff. That's all contract stuff. So just generally looking for a report back from staff. My question to Councillor Palmer, who made the motion, is I was wondering if you could repeat it, because I'm not sure I'm ready for any particular direction other than to hear back from staff on.
Thank you, Mayor Souls. I think it's in keeping with you. It's just one detail. So the motion is that the letter be referred to staff, including consideration of public requests for proposals for the concession at the arena. Mm-hmm. So it's just consideration. That's very intentional, that word, consideration. Okay. So I would like to see, does it have merit or not? I'm not ready to pull ahead either on that.
So for clarity, if I may, Your Worship, just to have that in the report, like the options available.
Yeah.
Sure, that's good.
That work with you, Mr. Dunn? All right. I'm gonna call the question. All those in favor? Motion's carried. Thank you. Moving on to the letter from the Royal Canadian Legion crosswalk request, and they sent us a sample photo. I sent that on to Mr. Black. Mr. Black, you have comment on that? I received another email from that person over the weekend, and I said it was coming to council for discussion. So,
sorry to interrupt, Your Worship. If there's going to be a discussion on this matter, I should probably recuse myself, as they are listed on my financial disclosure documents as an employer from last year. So I will leave the meeting at this time and just let me know when there's time to come back.
After this discussion, we're going to come back in camera, so we'll let you know. All right.
Sure. Yep.
Mr. Black.
Your Worship, we have made no determination or looked at this point of this year. Prior to the next PIC meeting, be able to bring something to that committee, which will then come to council.
Okay, good. Councilor Palmer?
Yeah, I'll just formally refer to staff.
Okay. Seconder for that motion? Councilor Stevenhurst. All those in favor? Motion's carried. We'll leave it with you and proceed as you were going to. Thank you. Everett, you have any questions? No questions? Ms. Delaselle, any questions from press online?
No questions from the press, Your Worship.
All right, thank you. I would like to go in camera pursuant to section 90.1 AD E and F of the community charter. Someone want to make that motion? Councilor Palmer, Councilor Luciano, all in favor? Motion's carried. We'll take a 10-minute break and come back in camera. Thank you.